Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And whenever you are tuning into this video, my name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. It is one of those episodes again today, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another pay-per-view review, or in this terms, you can say PLE, as that's what WWE wants to call these things nowadays. Another PLE, another pay-per-view review, and today is all about the Elimination Chamber. But today is not any ordinary pay-per-view review. If you guys know, today is another very special edition of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to go through all of these matches. We're going to go through all of our tallies. But before we get into all the rules and before we jump straight into things, ladies and gentlemen, as big as a show this was, a big show that the Elimination Chamber was, it was the first show in Perth, Australia. A lot of buzz, a lot of talk going into it. Because of that, your boys could not do this alone. We could not do this alone, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, today I would love to introduce to you. He's been pretty much a tried and true, almost like freaking David from Top Bunk Sports had the pleasure. He had the pleasure coming on to the show just a couple weeks ago. This man has been a part of the Ruthless Talk Roundtable for Survivor Series. He has also filled in for one of these shows as well, and he has been just a tremendous supporter to this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you my man, Jalen Johnson. Yes. Jalen,
yes, sir.
Welcome back, my man. Welcome back to Ruthless Talk, bro. How are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. How you guys doing today?
I'm good, bro. Hey, listen, same old shit, different day, but hey, freaking another day talking pro wrestling, man. So I can't freaking complain, man. So, but appreciate you, man, taking the time out of your day to join us, man. I'm really looking forward to this, man. This is the first time we've invited somebody into one of these shows, the good and the bad and the ugly, and had a special guest on this show. So I'm looking forward to this, man, as I'm sure, Brian, you are as well.
Absolutely.
And we're going to jump straight into things. Jalen, we'll get into your thoughts and your tallies, as well as Brian, and we'll get into your thoughts and your tallies. But I'm going to demonstrate the rules as we go into this review, demonstrate all the rules. But of course, with Jalen, make sure you guys go check him out, of course, on TikTok, on X, Instagram, everything. And of course, he covers, hats, he covers, movies, Marvel movies, and of course, professional wrestling. And of course, he is very, very knowledgeable in the wrestling world. So make sure you guys give him a follow. Put all of his social medias in the description down below for you guys to check him out. So we're going to dive straight into it. There's no time to waste. Even though this was a very short card, this Elimination Chamber card, there's a lot to go over and a lot to discuss. So allow me to demonstrate the rules for all of you guys that don't know too much about this good, the bad, and the ugly review today. So each match is going to get at least one tally. For every tally that goes into that ugly column, that's going to be crossed off and is going to be turned into two bads once we do our final tallies of this review. Whoever has the most tallies will determine whether we think that this was a good or a bad pay-per-view. If something that was great in this pay-per-view, then that's when we'll give it even more than one good. We'll give it two good. Sometimes I've done in this reviews, I've given it 3 to 4 good. So who freaking knows how that's going to go down as well. But I do want to mention this, whether you guys have, feel a certain type of way about how we tally up these boards, just remember this. Hey, Dwayne, tell them.
Regardless whether you like it or you don't like it, you love it, you hate it, one thing for damn sure, you are gonna respect it.
Couldn't said it any better myself, man. You're going to put some respect on these boards, on these tallies, whether you like it or not. So shout out to Dwayne, The Rock Johnson, man. Shout out to him. So, but let's do this, fellas. Let's jump straight into it, man. Like I said, there's a lots to go over in the show. There's a lots to cover. So let us dive straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the WWE Elimination Chamber review of February 24th, 2024. This was live in Perth, Australia. Our first matchup of the night was the Women's Elimination Chamber match. This involved Naomi, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, the center of the universe, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch. So Becky Lynch and Naomi were the first two to start off the match. Tiffany Stratton enters in was the very first entrant to get into the matchup. We want Tiffy chants from Perth, Australia. She was very well liked from this Australian crowd.
Yeah.
She was definitely a fan favorite in this matchup for sure. And she was just firing on all cylinders once she got into the match. And we're going to continue to praise Tiffany as we go through this show. But Liv Morgan enters in next straight after. She goes straight after Tiffany Stratton. Of course, they had a match back on SmackDown. And, of course, Tiffany was able to do a little bit of cheatery to win that matchup over Liv Morgan. So Liv Morgan wants a little bit of revenge. So she goes out straight after Tiffany Stratton. Becky did a disarmer to Tiffany through the steel chains of the chamber. Tiffany was taking a lot of crazy bumps in this match as well. So again, shout out to her. Naomi, she ends up hitting a flying net breaker to Liv Morgan. That was a pretty darn solid freaking spot there. And then right after that maneuver, Tiffany ends up pinning Naomi. It pretty much was a roll-up type of finish, I want to say. But she was the very first one. Kind of disappointed freaking that Naomi was the very first one. But, I'm honestly not shocked in a way. But it's, somebody had to go. So and it looked like it was Naomi was the very first one. So Raquel entered next. Raquel Rodriguez. She takes out both Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton. And that's when pretty much, Becky, Tiffany, as well as Liv Morgan, they were just said, fuck it. Let's just go after this woman. She's the bigger out of all of us. So they ended up doing a 3-on-1 assault, trying to take out the bigger woman, which was Raquel. Bianca was the last woman to enter the matchup. Bianca was tremendous, of course, in this match. All of these women, Brian, we talked about it just earlier, how just amazing all of these women were. This was a really tremendous matchup overall, and we'll get to that later on in just a second. Belair and Raquel had a moment. They kind of went at it during the matchup. DDT was delivered to Raquel on the outside, like the hard steel on the outside of the ring. Liv Morgan hit a senton. She hit a senton from the top of the pod onto Raquel, I believe it was Raquel Rodriguez. And I believe that's when right away Liv was eliminated, or Liv Morgan eliminated Tiffany Stratton via the Oblivion. And fans were not happy. The win was sucked out of Perth, Australia once Tiffany Stratton was eliminated. Before she got eliminated, she hit a beautiful, and I mean beautiful swanton off of the freaking pod on pretty much everybody. So again, man, freaking, if you didn't know Tiffany Stratton was a star, well, freaking now you know. I mean, this is why I've been freaking praising her for months now, ever since she was on NXT. But she did her thing, but unfortunately she was eliminated, but still a star continues to rise in Tiffany Stratton regardless. Belair hits the KOD to Raquel. Raquel is then eliminated. And it comes down to three people. It's Belair, Becky Lynch, and Liv Morgan. Freaking Belair shoulder presses Lynch onto Liv Morgan. Morgan hits a sunset flip to Bianca Belair. Belair goes for a KOD to Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch counters it. Liv Morgan rolls up Bianca Belair, so Bianca's eliminated. And then right after that, Becky Lynch hits the manhandle slam to Liv Morgan. Becky Lynch pins Liv Morgan, and Becky Lynch wins the women's Elimination Chamber match, and she will go on to main event WrestleMania against who? Well, we'll talk about that. Whoever wins the main event, which we're going to get into in just a second. But so Becky Lynch wins this match. I mean, something that we pretty much already had a feeling what was going to freaking happen. Brian, I know I can speak for me and you. We both definitely wanted Liv Morgan to definitely be the one to win this match. Of course, of the story with her and Rhea. She was the one to pretty much sign her off of TV, so it makes sense storyline-wise. But I got to be honest, man, again, I'm not shocked that Becky Lynch win this match. And listen, I don't think that took anything away from how good this freaking match was overall. All of these pretty much did their thing, man. And regardless with Becky Lynch winning the matchup or not, I am the beholder if people like it or not, regardless. But yeah, man, it was damn solid from start to finish. Tiffany was tremendous. All of these ladies were tremendous. Bianca was tremendous. And, I can understand why people didn't like the finish because it's Becky. But again, it's what we pretty much saw coming. And that's the decision that they made. They want Becky and Rhea to headline WrestleMania. And that's what they went with at the end of the day. So Jalen, as our guest, I'll have you start this off, man. Your thoughts as well as your tally for this match, this women's elimination chamber match. Man, the floor is yours.
I definitely thought that they're letting the women start off a lot of these shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a reason behind it. I think that Triple H is more so getting behind the women now to show them that they deserve those prime main event spots.
Yeah.
Alex, I know we'll get into Rhea main eventing the event, obviously, too. But even outside of Rhea being from Australia, her match was probably meant the most as far as going into Mania. But the chamber itself was great. I'm not a big fan of the roll-up eliminations. The Naomi one seemed a little awkward. Like once she came off the ropes, it kind of hit the ground. I saw and it seemed like Tiffany didn't know if I should just go for the pin immediately or kind of hesitated through it. But other than that, Raquel did feel a little out of place. I feel like that spot was maybe for like a Jade or something. And I think they might have pulled off and was like, hey, we don't want her taking a pin this early. But overall, great match. I liked it just as much as the men's. I am a hater of Becky's finisher because I hate the manhandle slam. Because it never her that and the Oblivion are probably two finishers that to me that just don't look good. So it's hard to find it as believable at times. But it was a good one. Tiffany Stratton, superstar already. They can go ahead and mark that down. By next Mania, she will be in the title picture somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
No doubt.
But what I did see was this does call for like a big card title for the women. I think they need to look into that heavily now to give them an opportunity because there's so many women on that roster that is showing out right now.
True.
But I think everybody in this, nobody really came out of this looking bad. You can say maybe Naomi because she got eliminated early, but she had great spots in between that showed, hey, I what I did in TNA, I'm gonna carry it back over here. Y'all are gonna see a new side of me. Liv, I like that Liv is kind of losing out right now. I don't know what they have planned for her for the time being, but I'm pretty sure she may be the next opponent for whoever that comes up for SummerSlam. That's how I would see it. Give her another 5-6 months to build up whatever she's got going on.
Yeah.
And like you said, with Tiffany Stratton, there's no telling where she can go at this point because just watching her on NXT and how that translated, she's probably the first person I've seen come out in her first match and it translate over that well from the jump.
Yeah, for sure.
So for
especially in recent memory, since we got away from the black and gold, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And she came in and she didn't feel out of place. That was the most important part of this. Through none of this, she felt out of place and she felt like at some point you probably thought she might have been that might have been able to actually pull this off. So I do like what they're doing. I did like this match. Becky, I get it. Rhea needs a big star for Mania. But I saw the face James just made. I know that big star is not that bright over Becky, but you know how everyone sees her over.
Yeah, it's the name. Yeah,
the name,
she's gonna be the man the rest of her career.
Right.
So I think it was a good decision. I didn't like what threw it off for me was it killed the suspense a little bit having that press conference beforehand and kind of having Becky come out and confront Rhea.
Right.
It kind of made it awkward for everybody else. Like, damn, I'm just here to get eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's evident of like what the match or what the setting they want, ahead of time anyway. So it was kind of like because you had nothing with Liv. You had nothing even with Nia Jax too, because I know that like during that time or before the press conference, Brian, we talked about it. Like, could they eventually insert Nia Jax into this whole situation and make it a triple threat match? But you got none of that. It was just Becky and Rhea. So yeah, they kind of made it obvious right from the jump with that whole press conference. Like, yeah, they wanted Becky and Rhea. And I said it from the beginning too. And I said it to you, Brian. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be Becky. It's going to be Rhea one way or the other. Could they potentially add someone? It wouldn't shock me at this point. But that would be kind of blurring the lines because it's like, okay, then what was the point of the Elimination Chamber if someone's just going to get magically inserted into it, especially even if it is Liv or Nia. But yeah, Jalen, continue.
But I do think that bearing the circumstances, the right person did win. but I do want to see how they're going to build the story for them, because right now with even Rhea and Nia, like that kind of took over as your match of the night. Like watching that
Yeah.
match, people got up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning to watch that match.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that what you just built with the chamber for the women, you are continually showing that. I didn't see one comment that said, "Man, these women don't belong here." And I think that's one of the greatest things that this chamber did accomplish, was showing that these women can do exactly what these men were doing, if not better.
Yeah. The Royal Rumble was evident in that as well. I mean, the Royal Rumble blew the men's Rumble completely out the freaking water in regards to like not just what the women can do, but just like the moments that were created because of Jade
Right.
Cargill, Tiffany Stratton's entrance, as well as just everything else. What Bianca and Jade, all the moments that you created and all the seeds that you could potentially plant moving forward, again, with people like Jade and Bianca, people like Nia and Jade, or whatever they want to go about it. But yeah, no, everybody did their thing in regards to it. But yeah, Becky, it's just, again, I appreciate Becky more, I'm sure, than a lot of people. I'm not a Becky Lynch fan, but over this past year, like, and I've just spoke this about to you, Brian, was I respect the fact that she's gotten away from the title picture as of late, you know, with her feud with Trish Stratus, with her feud recently with Bayley and Damage Control. Regardless of how it was done or how people portrayed by it, I respect of you trying to further distance yourself away from the title picture to try to see if this company can get people into that same picture and build them into that same star that they've built her today. So I can respect that with Becky, but yeah, and because here's the thing too, like, does Becky win this title at Mania or what? What do you think, Jalen?
I'm honestly saying no. And I said this from the beginning, no matter who, I don't want to spoil it for later on in the show, but the winner of the match last night was going to be going on and keeping that title, and they're going to keep that title for a minute. I solely believe that.
I agree, actually. Yeah.
Just what I've seen on Raw this last couple months, and how she's been separated from Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Like, I've even noticed in the graphics, it's not the 5, people on the thing anymore. It's just 4 of them. So they're getting her away from that part of her story, which I think that was kind of hurting her. But we'll get into the Damian Priest thing, I know, later, because I got a lot of feelings about that right now too. But you have such a star that you built with her in Australia and everywhere else, that her beating Becky would put her on another level.
Yeah.
And I think it would put her probably on, if not above, Becky's level, especially with just mainstream popularity, with how just off of appearance, how she's been. And also too, Becky's also one of the faces of the company, whether we like it or not. So I do believe that putting her in there and her taking that loss would show that Becky is willing to put somebody in the position to win. Because if it was Charlotte, just know Charlotte was winning whatever match she would be going into at Mania whenever she did come back.
What do you think about the? I mean, the possibility of a double turn at Mania, right? Because I mean, Rhea's going face at some point.
So I liked when Becky changed her attitude, because that's when the outfits kind of came out and it kind of matched the personality, and it kind of just made her seem like, I care about me and only me. And she almost took Seth's gimmick, the one that Seth probably should have right now, and turned it into gold in the women's division.
Yeah.
And where, hey, I'm the center of attention. And like I said, they got to the point where, I know there's always that ranking of the 4 horsewomen that they always want to put out. She was looking like she was at the top because of how polarizing of a figure she had become in that moment.
Yeah. There was a moment. Yeah. I'll still say, I mean, Bayley and Sasha are always going to be at the top for me, but yeah.
Bayley needs some respect put on her name.
A lot.
For real, bro. Oh my goodness, man. Seriously. Brian, your thoughts, man, on this chamber and your tally, man. The floor is yours.
Man, I gotta say, and I could be a prisoner of the moment, but I'm definitely gonna go back and watch this match. But it was fantastic, man. Like, all 6 women, like, every one of them hit their spot. It was fluid and flowing throughout. Like this is seriously, like, I'm definitely more of a fan of like a one-on-one match, but if you get a match like this where there's 4 or 6 people, in the Elimination Chamber, like, I put this up there with any Elimination Chamber match I've ever seen, man. It was freaking awesome, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody had their spot. Naomi with like the split leg drop from the cage.
Yeah.
You had mentioned the neck breaker from the pod. Liv with that she came off the pod and no, even before that, did she hit it on Tiffany or Raquel maybe?
I think it was Raquel.
Where she came off the pod and like basically like gave her like a ass plant something. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was a hell of an impact, man. Like, god damn. But just throughout, like every single woman looked fantastic, man. They kudos to all of them, man. In that type of a match, it's very easy, and you see it in the men's, you see it, everywhere. There's a lot going on. There's a tendency to get confused, miss spots. It's a physical, brutal match. And man, they knocked it out of the park, dude. They did. Really. That was fantastic, man. The only, I knew Becky was going to win too. So that is what it is. I just wish that at the end there, man, that they just rushed the ending to me. Like, if after Liv, eliminated Belair, if they had just taken 10 seconds for like a stare down, between them two, and then just another minute of 2 or of match,
right? Yeah.
Like, but overall, man, I got no complaints. That was really, really kudos to them, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So for my tally, I'm giving it 2 goods because, man, I'm gonna rank that up there with one of the best women's matches I've ever seen, man.
Yeah,
they nailed it.
No, it was damn good for sure. It seemed like when it comes to like those standoffs or whatever, like, here's the final 3 participants or the final 2. It seemed like they wanted to do that more with Bianca involved instead of it just being Liv and Becky. Now you would think it would just be Liv and Becky because like they were the first 2. I think they had like a segment just this past Monday Night on Raw where everybody came out pretty much said some words, but it was Becky and Liv that started that whole face off. So you would think like, especially, and they did the same thing with the men, and we'll get to the men later on with Drew and with Randy Orton. And I was in the building for it, to where when Randy Orton won his qualifying match, he stared off with freaking Drew. And it's going to make sense of who those final participants were when we get to that match later on. So it seemed like they still wanted to involve Bianca some way, somehow. I really hope, guys, and I really, really hope that, and I saw a rumor about this, and hopefully it's true, that I've even said it too. I've spoken about it when I was talking about Bianca, and eventually I think at some point, maybe not right now, but it would be awesome to see a Bianca heel turn going back to that original NXT character, that extra attitude, that extra sass. And she kind of showed it this past Monday on Raw, but I think she kind of just needs that cleanse. And the first step, I even said it in the video, was a TikTok, to where she needs to first get away from the title picture. And one opponent that could start that whole process was Tiffany Stratton. So Tiffany, Bianca at frickin' Mania, bro, like frickin' bro, take my freaking money. Where's my wallet? I don't have my wallet.
I totally forgot. I got to give a shout out to Bianca in that match too. Cause like I said, I was, rooting for Liv to win, but through that match, man, I found myself, pulling for Bianca, man. Cause she killed it. She killed it.
She did. Yeah. No, she was in her element. That was that was ultimate Bianca Belair from what you saw, as well as every other lady in that match. So I'm going to reveal my tally, as you can see right there. That's going to get a good for me. Again, no complaints. I get it if people don't like the outcome of the match, but I thought the match itself and all the moments that were created in this match definitely outweighed the, what's the word I'm looking for? The overall outcome and how people just personally feel about the ending of the match overall. Right. And before we get into this next matchup, Jalen, you brought up a really interesting point about Raquel and how potentially it was supposed to be Jade that was probably going to be that participant in the chamber. And you could possibly be right. But the whole, what really kind of stuck out to me was when they did that whole, freaking last chance, freaking battle royal. The one person I would have loved to see enter in that chamber. And again, this is no shade to Raquel. And for what she did fine. But I really still feel like there's still not a connection yet with freaking Raquel. And the fact that you bring her back and you put her into this spot, I don't really know how much that truly helps her. But man, the one person I thought would have fit perfectly in this was Shayna Baszler. I would have had Shayna Baszler freaking won that freaking battle royal. Because if you remember, the last time she was really, dare I say, relevant in this freaking company as a solo act, when it was freaking during the whole freaking Thunderdome era, when she freaking won the chamber and she went on to face freaking Becky. Yeah. And she was a freaking beast. And after that match with Becky, freaking nothing. And I think that like coming back full circle, going back to the chamber and maybe not winning it, but being a part of the chamber and showcasing her in that, a cage fighter, right? A freaking legit badass fighter in a cage in a chamber. I think that would have done wonders for Shayna Baszler, but they went the route with freaking Raquel. Wasn't a fan of it, but what she did in the matchup was fine. I would have put Shayna Baszler in there. I think Shayna Baszler is just due for some type of break at this point. Yeah. So, but that's just me. But yeah, who knows? They probably were planning on having Jade, and I know the plans were kind of changed maybe over the last several weeks. They kind of took her out of the whole chamber card. Who knows? I mean, there's still the potential Jade versus Nia Jax match coming up. Yeah. I've spoken about that. It seemed like Jade is probably going to go over to Raw. It wouldn't make any sense, the fact that you now have Tiffany and Naomi on SmackDown, and you're just going to add Jade Cargill on top of that when you pretty much have no other female talent on Monday Night Raw outside of Becky and maybe another name or two that I'm forgetting. But I got no complaints about this match. I agree with all of you guys, man. Freaking this match was tremendous. I'm not going to say it was great, but it was very, very good. It was very, very good for what it was. All these women did their thing. And who knows when, Jalen, you even said this too, like a mid-card title. I mean, I'll take that over freaking tag titles at this point, because this tag division is just like, do I even want to waste my breath about this tag division, how horrible it is, man? Because I think
that's what ultimately hurt Shayna being in the match.
In the tag, right.
In the tags yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what I don't understand about that is her and Zoe Starks are two great singles competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they both honestly could have probably benefited from being in the chamber as well.
Right. And I don't even know what those two are. Are they faces? Are they heels? I guess they're heels now. Like it just I don't know what the hell they are heels now. Like I thought they were faces in the match when they fought Rhea in that fatal 4-way or fatal 5-way at Crown Jewel. And then a couple weeks later, they formed a team, and then all of a sudden, the snap of a finger, they just became heels. So they don't really know, because Jalen, like you said it yourself, it's truly hurt people like Zoe, as well as Shayna, as well as a lot of other women, to where we don't even know what the identity of these women anymore, and it's not helping them connect with your audience at all.
Right.
I mean, freaking their reaction when they come out to the ring is freaking evident, and it's just. It sucks because they're legit badasses, man. Even though Zoe Starks, I still need to see more of what she's capable of. I thought she did very well with that whole, what was it? The feud between Becky and Trish. I thought she played her role very well, but I still need to see a lot more from Zoe. And I already know what Shayna Baszler is capable of. Like we've seen it. Shoot, even, I don't know if you guys remember this. It was like freaking that whole little mini feud with Alexa Bliss and that whole freaking weird, it was like freaking Shayna Baszler was like beating, it was that whole freaking Lily, what was the doll? Yeah, Lily the doll.
Lily,
and they she freaking like tore up the doll, and they played like this freaking, even though I get it, some people didn't like it. I thought for what it was, and that deserved like such a more broader build, because like that one segment to where they kind of like they ended the night off, I believe it was. This was like months or years ago. But it was done. It was creative. I appreciate the creativity that was a part of it. And Shayna played her role very, very, very well. So she has the capability to where, she's a we already know that she's a badass. She can go in the ring. I mean, you can debate whether she's a great technical wrestler. I mean, obviously she's not one of the best technical wrestlers, but she doesn't even need to be. but it's just the fact that I've already seen enough in NXT and even on the main roster to where, like, you got to give her something. I don't even give a shit about a title. Just give her something. Like, because she's deserved that, man. Or not even deserved. She's freaking earned it. So, but good stuff all the way around in this chamber match. Like I said, so I got one in the good. Brian, you got two in the goods. And I believe, Jalen, you got probably one in the good, I would want to say. So would probably in this.
Yeah, definitely one in the good on that one.
Nice. So far, so good. As we kickstart this pay-per-view off. So let us dive straight into our next matchup, which was for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles. This was the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor against Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. They have a new freaking name. What is do y'all know what the new name of this of the tag team name is? I think it's like New Czech Republic or something.
Yes, that's it. Is
that what it is? Okay, yeah. So they have this new little tag team name. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. I don't mind these two as a tag team. I think, I do think that they were in they had a certain segment that I think they were like at a coffee shop or something. And it was just done very well. Like it was just, again, I just love segments that are just taken away from the ring and the arena. And it kind of like introduced you to a different side of Pete Dunne. It was so refreshing hearing Pete Dunne speak instead of like barking and freaking being a rabid fucking dog. It was just like, it was refreshing in a way, especially the fact that he's got his freaking name back too. So, but I'll dive straight into this match, man. I'll get your all's thoughts in just a second. Dominic Mysterio was booed out of freaking Australia. He grabbed the microphone. I couldn't even understood what he said because Australia was freaking booing him so freaking loud. We want truth chants ended up echoing throughout the stadium in Australia as well. Dominic was ejected after interference in the matchup. So he was ejected from ringside. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne hit a new finishing move. It was like a tag team finishing move calling Birmingham Hammer. It was a Birmingham. It looked like a double KOD. Like they both had freaking, I believe it was Finn Balor on his on their shoulders, and they flipped them over like a KOD, but they call it Birmingham Hammer. A pretty decent little tag finish, I want to say. It was all right. But yeah, so Priest kicks out of that. Priest hit a double choke slam from the top rope. Balor tags in, hits the coup de grace to Pete Dunne, and Finn Balor and Damian Priest retain their tag championship. So Brian, I'll have you start off, but I will say this, man. I mean, listen, I like Pete Dunne. I like Tyler Bate. I do like them as a tag team. I think that they could gel very well. And I think that, if you're going to build a tag division with these two, I think that they can fit in pretty well. But no way in hell could they have won this freaking matchup yesterday. Absolutely not. I mean, listen, Damian Priest and Finn, they're your heels. They've held on to these titles for a very long time. And Mania is probably going to be the setting to where they drop those tag titles, especially for Damian Priest. And I don't know what the future is for Damian with this briefcase. That's just another interesting discussion there. But the right outcome was made, as well as the matchup was pretty darn solid as well. I mean, I got no complaints about the freaking match. I mean, I get it. I wish the build up to this match was better. There was really no story at all. I mean, you can arguably say that you could have just watched this match on a SmackDown for free and you would have been okay with it. But no, for what it was, man, I mean, the crowd was also into it. Freaking Australia, Perth was really into this matchup going in. And, yeah, I mean, no complaints. The right person won. And I don't know, man, freaking, I'm hearing Awesome Truth, Miz and R-Truth taking these titles. I get it. R-Truth is he's very well liked by the fans right now with this whole shtick with the Judgment Day. And it makes sense storyline wise, but man, like, for months upon months, you have these two hold on to the tag titles and you have Miz and R-Truth take these titles. Like, Miz doesn't need a tag title. You know what Miz needs? He needs good booking is what the Miz needs.
Yeah.
To tag along with R-Truth, I don't know how much of that really is for the Miz.
It's not a long-term tag. It's
not a long-term tag. It's just for, so I don't know. If they were to win these titles, they're not going to hold on to them long. So they're going to be transitional champions one way or the other. I necessarily wouldn't do it, but it wouldn't shock me if that's the route that frickin' this company will go to. So, Brian, I'll start this off with you, man. Your thoughts on this tag match and your thoughts about the Judgment Day retaining these tag titles, as well as your tally. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match too, man. Obviously, Judgment Day was going to win. Man, I guess I can't really say I'm shocked, but the level, like how much Dom was booed. Like, you know, we all knew he was going to get booed, but good Lord, man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a pretty cool little moment there. I'm in agreement with you, man. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne as a tag, man, it works. I think they're good together.
Uh-huh.
And that's that's kind of my question about all this is just what are you really doing with the tag division? Because you were saying like who's going to take these belts off Finn and Damian. If you went the Miz and R-Truth route, then you're kind of telling us you're not really taking this seriously. But I could see this like go, if Pete Dunne, what is a month down the road now, a month and a half, if they run this back, maybe. But that could be a solid, like if you're gonna take the tag team division seriously, I mean, that'd be a solid tag team to give it to, and have them, hold it for a bit.
Right.
And then whatever happens with Damian and the whole Judgment Day and the briefcase and all that, who knows? But I thought it was a good match. The right people won. Again, little, I just thought it was funny how much Dom was getting booed. Again, I was skeptical because Pete Dunne I've always been a fan of, but even like Tyler Bate down in NXT, I was kind of on the fence, but. In this tag team, I don't know. Last night for me, they worked well together. It flowed, and I like them as a tag, man. So we'll see where they go with that. But I put this tally in a good match. They retained the title, the right call. So I was happy with it.
Nice, Jalen, man. Talk to me. Your thoughts on this match and your tally, man.
I'll go ahead and give it a good. For now, I'm a little skeptical because once again, I don't know what Damian's end game is.
Yeah.
And I feel like, unfortunately, with them having the tag titles, that's one of those things that's always going to kind of like muddy it down a little bit because he has he has that briefcase. So it's like are these titles these tag titles your focus, or is that briefcase your focus?
Yeah.
Because you're not in a position where you can do both.
Right.
For Dunne and this was good for them. This is what they needed.
Yeah.
I can see SmackDown, even Raw have a hell of like a tag team. So once again, I'm hoping that they split these damn titles up. I don't know what's taking so long.
Right.
But because
they don't know. They don't know what to do, Jalen. That's the problem. They
still even have like the old style of the title. So it's like
that's right. Right. They don't. Yeah.
Everybody's got an upgrade, but them.
So right.
At some point, it's like you have to look at yourself and go, all right, we have to split this up because we got 10, 15 tag teams that we haven't had before. And we need to do something better with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how serious are they going to take this going forward? Because, Now, as far as the Awesome Truth, I hate it because I think we talked about this before, that it's the writing on the wall that at some point. But my problem with that is, like you said, they're going to win those titles, and then a month later, after they retain them, everybody's going to hate it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And then the team splits up, and then they're going their separate ways.
And I granted shout out to Triple H and those guys for finding a way to get R-Truth on TV, and I think he did help keep the Judgment Day story going on. But it's almost like with the Trish and Becky thing was like, well, how much longer can this truly go on?
Yeah.
And shout out to Truth, man. Hopefully, he made it back from Austria.
Right.
I mean, he's producing gold, man. I mean, he really is.
There's things. Listen, there's shout out to Truth, man. He's just freaking great. There's things I will say like that Truth does to where it's more silly than it is funny. But then the whole Austria thing, like that was. I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that. I came across that on Instagram, and I couldn't help but laugh. And that shit is too good. It's shout out to him. Yeah, but yeah, Jalen, continue your thoughts.
He Like I said, he's very entertaining. You always know the Truth is going to give you gold when he comes out to the ring.
Yeah.
No matter if it could be 2 seconds or less, he's going to give you something. But once again, I don't think they can sustain that. As far as this match, I love a good tag team forming. And Bate and Dunne, you can see where they're forming a great tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Even giving them a small story as Pete Dunne changing his name back. and remembering who he was.
Yeah.
I to this day thought Butch was the stupidest thing in the world. Anytime I go back and look at like Brawling Brute stuff and I see, like you said, he was like a rabid dog. He didn't say much. He didn't really have any motives. It was just, I'm ready to fight randomly. But giving him a purpose now, the Judgment Day, I'm scared for them because I feel like they're going to break up at some point soon.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just feel like there's nothing. Even I thought JD McDonough would be like an okay piece to add, but it's not panning out for me like I thought it was going to.
Oh, dude, he's a glorified jobber, bro. That's all he really is.
Dom has been fantastic. And like I said,
Dom,
I love the fact that Dom has gotten to the point where you don't even question him in the ring. Like I remember before when he would get in the ring with Ray, it'd be like, he's only here because of that's his son. But Dom is holding his own, and he's become his own character.
Yeah.
And even without him and Rhea being up under each other 24/7 now, he's still developing. Now, if I did have to give a bad tally on this, it would be the fact that I do feel like Damien's character and his overall popularity with the crowd has been reduced. Him and Finn both. They've been almost reduced. It's almost been reduced to zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like besides having a cool entrance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
There's not much to look forward to with the Judgment Day.
And it doesn't help the fact, I mean, we said it earlier about Rhea, how she's slowly distancing herself from the rest of the group. Like she's this big baby face now. She's getting cheered. You freaking heard it yesterday. And here you have the rest. And I said it to you, Brian, too, not too long ago. It's like, then now you have the rest of the Judgment Day. They're trying to get heel heat. I mean, Dominic's fine. Dominic's just going to get booed in every, he's proven that he's just going to get booed wherever he goes. But then there's Finn Balor, JD, and there's Damian Priest, to where they're trying to get heel heat, but like the Judgment Day as a whole, which is as of right now is very weird. It seems evident that, like you said, Jalen, they're probably going to break this whole tandem, this faction up at some point.
I think pretty much at Mania or the Monday night after or something.
Yeah, exactly. But Dominic as well has been tremendous. You can definitely see Dominic is starting to become a lot more comfortable. Even when he started in this whole Judgment Day stick, when he first started, he was still trying to, he still had the training wheels on, and he was still trying to find a spot. But now he's in his element. Like now he feels comfortable. Now he, this company as well is reliable upon him to do the job to frickin' a Cody Rhodes, an LA Knight, a Jay, whoever it is, whoever that guy is, because people can't stand him and they just love to see him lose and get his ass whooped. It's Dominic Mysterio. So Dominic has been doing a tremendous job. And I'll finish it off with this as well as my tally. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, again, I think they do. I agree with both of you guys, man. I think that tag team has something there. I think that there's a good connection there. I do want to see a lot more of those vignettes that they had at the coffee shop a couple weeks ago. Like I want to see more of that character development, that different side of, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Like show me more of that stuff than you just throwing them in random freaking tag matches every week. And it's just like, okay, what is this doing for them? Right. So I hope we see a lot more of that to get to these, to develop these freaking banger freaking tag matches against freaking DIY or whoever you want to throw them in there with. So we'll see, man.
They've been doing that with multiple, which I love them bringing that back. The vignettes, with Shinsuke and Andrade now. They've been doing it with a few wrestlers here over the last 4 to 6 months, man. And I love that, man, because that brings me back to like early 90s. So keep it up with that, man.
It's character development, man. You freaking need it in this freaking business. So, but I've revealed my tally, man. That's going to get a good from me as well. Again, I would have liked more story developed between these two teams, sure. But again, I don't think that takes away of how good this tag team matchup was for what it is, as well as the crowd just being really heavily into it, especially as it went on. Again, Dominic Mysterio, him being booed, kind of added another extra layer into it, of course. But yeah, no complaints there. So I got 2 in the good. Brian, you got 3 in the good, and Jalen, you have 2 in the good as well. So again, so far so good. Can they keep this up? Well, let's find out. We're about to find out. Let's jump into this Grayson Waller effect segment. So the Grayson Waller effect, special guests were Seth Rollins and Cody. Rhodes. Austin Theory started this off. He introduced Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller comes out. He got an okay, decent reception from his homeland. They did what was called a shoey, where they drank freaking alcohol out of a shoe. And I'm thinking, okay, that's disgusting. I hope those are brand new leather shoes and not used freaking shoes. Like, that's just a weird, I mean, I get it. I believe it's like some type of tradition, like an Australian tradition that they do. I think it's very odd. I mean, again, from, everybody has traditions. I mean, I'm Italian. I freaking love traditions, but that's like, yeah, no, thank you. So he did a shoey, like drinking out of alcohol out of a shoe with Ty Tuvosa, who's a UFC fighter who was from Australia. They did a freaking shoey or whatever, and I'm just thinking, okay, that's again just a weird tradition, but whatever. But good for Grayson Waller. I'm sure, like, hey, he's like, that was the night of my life. I got to do a shoey with Ty Tuvosa, freaking the famous UFC fighter. So freaking they start, freaking Grayson Waller's hyping up his homeland, freaking Aussie chants and all that stuff. And he finally introduces both Seth and Cody. Seth and Cody come out. Seth Rollins states that he has a couple days left until he is cleared to compete. As well as Cody Rhodes, he gets on the microphone. And Cody was like, oh, what does The Rock call fans nowadays? And Grayson was like, Cody crybabies. It's actually really funny. Grayson kind of played that pretty well. And then freaking Cody, he gets on the microphone. He says, listen, Seth, you also had an announcement. I like to make an announcement myself. And that's when Cody Rhodes stands up and he challenges The Rock one-on-one. And he's like, listen, anytime, anywhere, I got some time before WrestleMania. Let's do this, me and you. And I'm thinking, freaking brilliant. Let's freaking do this. Don't give me that tag match. Throw that shit in the garbage. Give me Rock and give me Cody. Great. That's intriguing me right now. And then Seth starts to stand up. I'm like, Seth, sit down. I'm like, Seth, sit the fuck down, please. You're not a part of this, Seth. Please sit down. And then all of a sudden, Seth, he freaking pats him on the shoulder and he's like, listen, man, like, you don't have to freaking fight this battle alone. And again, that's pretty much hinting the fact that there's going to be a freaking tag match. And I'm like, motherfucker, man. Like, Seth, listen, just take your weird wife's clothes and freaking go to the fucking kiddie table and just let the fucking adults freaking handle this situation. You have your own title and another chamber match to worry about. Like, listen, and I like Seth, but get the fuck away, man. So I'll get into that more later. And then Austin Theory, he grabs the microphone out of Grayson Waller's hand and he starts taking jabs at both Seth and Cody, mainly Cody Rhodes, freaking with a bunch of Rock impressions. Like, it doesn't matter what you think, or it doesn't matter what you say. And he does the whole, if you smell thing. And then it just leads to Austin Theory just freaking being dropped where he stood with freaking a Cody cutter and then a stomp. And Grayson Waller just watches the entire thing. So I'm guessing, I don't know if that's hinting something between those two in the future. Jalen, you spoke it about, and I laughed about it because it is funny, about an Austin Theory babyface turn, which it wouldn't shock me that this company tries to freaking do. But anyway, and that's pretty much it. That's the segment. Seth and Cody shake hands, and that's it, man. Listen, I'll start with this. Guys, listen. We started off very well. We started off very well. And guys, like, this was nothing but filler. Like, this was nothing but just filler, just nonsense. I could have seen this on a Raw. Nothing happened. It was just them calling out. It's what we expected. Like, they were going to further along this tag. Again, I would have just loved if Cody would have just specifically called out The Rock. Maybe do Cody and Rock freaking night one. That's a lot more intriguing than a fucking tag match. But Seth just wants to just be freaking Seth. And, instead of his own freaking issues with his world title, let me keep being involved in the bloodline and Cody Rhodes' business, because we just need a fucking tag match involved for some odd freaking reason. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. This was just something that you could have just seen on a Raw. It was just nothing but filler to me. I guess if you're into this whole maybe Grayson and Austin Theory maybe having some beef after Austin Theory snatched the microphone, it's like, guys, I mean, nothing. Like, again, you're telling more. This is my problem, fellas. My problem is, and I've said this for weeks now, you're doing more. You're promoting this tag match more than you are with Cody and Roman. It's fucking weird. Like Cody and Roman is your main event. It's the main event for night 2. And you're putting more stock into this tag with Seth than Seth is with his own title and with this freaking opponent he's about to face at Mania. Like what? Everything is just all over the fucking place. It was nothing but filler. Nothing was exciting. Nothing was memorable. It just did not hit. And I'm not even going to waste freaking time. And I don't give a shit if this is freaking harsh, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm sorry, fellas, but that's ugly. I'm sorry. That is freaking horrible. Whoever thought that shit was a good idea, Triple H, Creator 912 needs to be smacked across their fucking head. Because it's something I could have just seen on a Raw. And again, you're continuing to do everything else but Cody and Roman. That's just what you're doing. Thank God, guys, we didn't get we didn't get Roman and Rock, but we're just getting this tag match instead. Fucking brilliant. But whatever. What the fuck do I know, right? So that's my tally. Those are my thoughts, man. Again, if people liked it, more props to them. I've seen similar segments on a Monday Night Raw that just did nothing for me. And again, it's not getting me any more excited about Cody versus Roman. That's legit the main event of WrestleMania, which is night 2. And that's it, man. So Jalen, I'll let you start, man. Your thoughts and your tally of the Grayson Waller effect.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm right there with you on the ugly. It was not great because what it showed me, and I know I'm trying to not repeat what you said. What it showed me the most was that World Heavyweight title literally means nothing.
Nothing, dude. Nothing.
And I get it. They're gonna say, "Oh, well, the winner, Drew's gonna beat Seth because Seth was so distracted with everything else." The only positive I see coming out of this is the fact that if they do that tag match night 1, you're possibly going to have to put the women's matches both on night 1, and one of them are going to have the main event. So that's the only positive from this. Everything else from this.
So you think that with the tag match, right? If they're going to put the tag match night 1, you think that they're not going to put that in the main event?
I can't see them doing that.
Really?
I can not having Roman back-to-back nights.
Interesting.
See, I can't see Seth wrestling 2 matches. I can't see him in a tag and then defending whether it's night 1, night 2, whatever. I don't think Seth is going 2 matches.
Yeah. No, listen. Go ahead, Jalen.
That's what confused me.
Yeah.
Also, when he said that I'm only a couple days from being cleared, because
which seems pretty early. Right.
What does that necessarily mean for you? Because
it's
still not but a month away. You don't have to fight for another month and a half. So you being cleared tomorrow doesn't really matter. So that's why I think this segment was kind of ugly for me. Because I personally just put Grayson Waller and Cody in a match together. You could have done that and done more and had Cody maybe after the match call out The Rock if you wanted to, as opposed to, well, I'm gonna have y'all do a 20-minute segment that leads nowhere. Shout out to Grayson Waller. I'm glad he got his moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, good for him. Yeah.
I'm glad I was right about him and Austin breaking up. It's coming soon. I'm gonna stick to that.
Oh, we see it now. But yeah, you called it for sure.
But I don't see what this segment progressed at all in the story.
Yeah.
Because it literally just shows me that Seth does not care about that title. All of that about it being the workers title and all that stuff, that goes out the window. Because you basically just said, I would rather worry about having somebody's back to them winning their title than to worry about the man who won the chamber, who's been on a killing streak for the past 3 months now. It doesn't seem like it didn't make anything better for Mania.
Yeah.
Now it makes The Rock's position and whatever the hell he's going to do, it makes it even more confusing now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Brian, man, your thoughts. Floor is yours.
I'm with you too, man. I got it in the ugly too, man. I thought from the jump, if we were going to have a segment like this, then, obviously not a match, but if Rock or Roman came out there and beat him down, or even a Jimmy and Uso, whatever, some confrontation with them. But yeah, I mean, Cody, I want to see a Cody Rock match for sure. I'm down for that, but to know you're having this match at Mania and not even mention The Rock, right? It turned into all about, it was The Rock and then the tag. And I mean, the way the segment ended, and it really seemed like this was more of just getting to that point of Grayson backing away from Theory, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was just, I mean, that's fine. But yeah, I'm not down for the tag. I think that's unnecessary. To have them both come out there and, Jalen, like you said, I mean, Seth hasn't even mentioned, when's the last time he's mentioned his, what's coming up for him at Mania and his title defense, right? So yeah, it's just, it didn't hit for me. It was the low point of the night. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. So I got 2 in the good and 1 in the ugly. Brian, you have 3 in the good. Is that correct? You got 3 in the good and 1 in the ugly. And Jalen is the same with me. I believe he's got 2 in the good as well as 1 in the ugly. So remember, guys, that ugly gets crossed off into 2 beds. So right now, with me and Jalen's board, it's pretty much tied. And frickin' Brian has at least 1 tally in the good ahead with 3-2. So let's see if WWE can get back on track after that just whatever the fuck we just witnessed in that Grayson Waller effect segment. But let's move on to the men's Elimination Chamber matchup. This was Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Randall Keith Orton, and Logan Paul, your United States champion. So the match starts off with both Drew McIntyre and LA Knight. They kick things off in this match. Right away, we get CM Punk chants, and frickin' McIntyre's taunting the crowd with the go to sleep and everything. It's just that match at some point. I mean, I think it's evident now when CM Punk, whenever he does come back from this torn tricep, you're going to see Drew and Punk together in a match at some point. That's probably going to be the first thing that probably CM Punk does when he comes back from this injury.
Your SummerSlam main event.
Something like that in regards to it. And I'll talk more about that later on. Kevin Owens enters the match up next. He delivers a choke slam, which I believe the reason why he delivered a choke slam was something about making a promise to a Make-A-Wish kid that he would deliver a choke slam in a match. So that was pretty cool. Something that I think Michael Cole said on commentary or whatever. Kevin Owens was funny when Logan Paul entered the freaking chamber and Logan was taunting him and he just headbutts the freaking glass like a dog. And Logan Paul's like, this fucking dude's out of his mind. And he walks back to his pod. So Kevin Owens was just freaking being Kevin Owens for the most part in this match. He's mocking freaking Randy Orton. And frickin' he's smacking Logan Paul's frickin' pod, and Logan Paul's like, "Ooh, I'm so scared." Wow. It was just that. So that stuff was kind of good, at least in the moment. But that was really good stuff. Bobby Lashley enters next, followed by Randy Orton in the match. LA Knight delivers a DDT to McIntyre on the outside of the ring. Orton was really selling his lower back. Selling this lower back injury that he's been doing for quite some time now, and he really heavily sold his lower back throughout pretty much since he entered the matchup, as he was selling that earlier on in the matchup when he did get into the match. Logan Paul was the last to enter the match, and right away Kevin Owens was waiting for him right in the door. Freaking Logan Paul is trying to hold on to the pod, trying to for it not to freaking open. And freaking Kevin Owens is just beating the shit out of freaking Logan Paul inside the pod. It was really good stuff, man. Freaking, I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Logan Paul's on his social media, of course on his YouTube channel, I think it's one of his many other channels. I think it's called More of Logan Paul or something. And it's him in the chamber with a mini microphone, and he's making quality content for the people, right? Because he's a YouTuber. And he's and he has a marker and a Sharpie, and he's just he's drawing shit on the frickin' on the chamber pod door. He's drawing devil horns. Because I'm about to be in demon time. Freaking, he writes Kevin Owens sucks. He's like, yeah, right there. That's Kevin Owens. He sucks. And he draws a stick figure that someone's fat and big. He's like, that's Kevin Owens. It was just great. And then it shows him like getting his ass whooped in the pod. It's like, guys, I know we've spoken about Logan Paul and him being a YouTuber and just like, who is this dude? Like thinking he can just jump into what that, everything that wrestlers have been doing for years now. But this dude is so good, man. This dude is tremendous. And everything this dude has done, I mean, yeah, he's done some cheesy stuff here and there, but all that stuff, man, everything that I see him do that's not even involving the pay-per-view, it's on his own freaking YouTube channel, is freaking great. But freaking Owens is just beating the living shit out of him, throwing him into pods, locking him into pods, and just beating the living shit out of him, continuing that little feud or whatever. So that was just freaking great. Logan Paul also took a spear from Bobby Lashley. Freaking Corey Graves, like, he's dead. Logan's just dead. So freaking Logan Paul was taking a beating, man. Again, Logan Paul's he's not afraid to take a bump every now and then. We've seen that before many times in his so far in his very short career in wrestling. So again, much love again to Logan Paul for that. Freaking McIntyre claymores Lashley. Lashley's eliminated. LA Knight hits the BFT to both Orton and McIntyre. AJ Styles comes out of nowhere, attacks LA Knight with the steel chair. I believe the chamber door was open, so that's how AJ Styles was able to enter in the pod and freaking attack LA Knight. I thought that was freaking beautiful. Again, I love the fact that they're going to have LA Knight involved with Styles. I love that more than LA Knight going after a mid-card title. I'm going to be honest with you, fellas. I love that. Yeah. I hope they continue that. Involve the OC. I don't know what the OC is going to do because now they're in freaking NXT. I don't know freaking why. That's another conversation for another day. But good stuff, man, between AJ Styles and LA Knight. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what those two can bring to the table. So really good stuff. LA Knight, because of that attack, was pinned by Drew McIntyre shortly after. Randy Orton RKO's Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is eliminated. Logan Paul. So now it comes down to Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre. Logan Paul does a crossbody off the top rope not off the top rope, but on top of the pod. Logan Paul tries to take out Brass Knuckles. So this was probably the moment of the match, or the highlight of the match. So he's taking out Brass Knucks. He's in front of, I guess, camera A, if you want to call him, not the hard camera, but camera A. And he's got Brass Knucks. He's flexing. He's got his tongue out. And freaking, no pun intended, but out of nowhere, freaking Randy Orton hits the RKO, freaking coming in out of frame. I thought that was beautifully done, that whole shot and everything. And yeah, freaking Randy Orton pins Logan Paul. Logan Paul's eliminated. Again, Orton's still selling that injured back. So yeah, now you have the whole exchange between Orton and McIntyre. We kind of had a feeling these two were going to be the final two participants in this chamber. It was kind of evident a couple weeks ago. But McIntyre starts to kind of toy with Randy Orton. Orton's still like selling the back. He's having trouble getting up or whatever. And McIntyre's like, come on, man, this is who you cheer for. This is your guy. And he's just like standing all over him or whatever. But little to be known, like freaking Randy Orton, the freaking the viper or the snake that he is, he was just suckering freaking McIntyre in. Is out of nowhere, hits him with the freaking RKO. And also out of nowhere, Logan Paul hits Randy Orton clean with brass knuckles, as he still had the brass knuckles in his hand, and he knocks Randy Orton out with them. And McIntyre falls into the cover. He pins Randy Orton 1, 2, 3, and Drew McIntyre wins the men's Elimination Chamber match, and he will go on to face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. I got a lot of thoughts, but Brian, I'll have you start, and then I'll get to Jalen. So, Brian, your thoughts, man, and your tally on this men's Elimination Chamber match, man.
I thought it was okay overall. I would put the women's chamber match above this, but
for sure.
Everybody knew Drew was winning this match. Again, good spots with Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. Everybody had a spot or two in there. What do you guys think about this, man? Like, going into Mania, not that he needs the title or anything, or that he wants it, but what about a Orton and Paul match now? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Jalen, I'll let you start with that. Go ahead.
I could see it if you want to boost the title, but what scares me about that is, are they doing that because of how Mania possibly may end with no champion being on Raw, being on SmackDown, no world champion being on SmackDown, and then you need somebody like Randy Orton with that title to make it feel kind of like how Gunther's doing with the IC title.
Right.
Now, if they're going to go that direction, and I can understand, but other than that, I think Logan would be best used in a ladder match, probably in this situation. Because I think right now
that'd be good. Which I don't think Orton could, or nor that he should be doing a ladder match right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, listen, Orton and Logan, I mean, I think that has the potential to be darn good for what they can bring to the table. I just don't think that the United States title just doesn't need to be involved. It's just unfortunate that the title is around Logan Paul's waist right now. Because, like, again, like Orton holding on to a mid-card title, I just don't think that that's needed. I don't really think that does anything for him. I think it does just more for the company, like you said, Jalen, just to have a potential champion on your SmackDown roster. Because, again, who knows with Roman Reigns and his championship and his part-time schedule, is that a way for, to have that climactic title change at Mania to now finally have that champion on SmackDown that you haven't really had consistently over the past few months? I'm fine with it. Again, I would be fine with it if it just wasn't for the title, but the fact that the title's on the line, it's a mixed bag for me, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Brian, continue your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I thought it was a good match, man. I expect Drew to win at Mania. I think he's beaten Seth. And we'll see what we get with his title reign. I'm kind of looking forward to it, to be honest. He's going to be a heel champion, which I don't know. I always, I guess, kind of prefer a heel champion because then the face is always chasing, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to what he's going to do with that. And yeah, Jalen, what you were saying with whenever CM Punk comes back, I mean, do you only give this title to Drew for 5 months or so? But I could see absolutely, Drew wins at Mania, Punk comes back, and he's the champion at SummerSlam. Like I could totally see that happening for sure.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to happen as well. I don't think that until Punk comes back, I don't think McIntyre is going to lose that championship. I think it's going to be for Punk when he comes back, and dare I say, to once again resume the feud with Seth Rollins in the future when Seth Rollins is fully healthy later on this calendar year, is to get to that back there as well. And that's where Punk maybe retains the championship over Seth, like he was going to do win the championship over Rollins, but it'll be him retaining the title because he has the title at that point. But yeah, Jalen, your thoughts, man, on this Elimination Chamber match and your tally, my man. The floor is yours.
I'll say my tally for the end this time, but I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, I would not have liked this match that well. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of the feuds in there for sure. Yeah.
It was a lot more moments with Logan as well as KO than anything. Yeah.
I have enjoyed Drew being what they've been saying on Twitter is the hater of the year. I have enjoyed that side of him.
Yeah.
So
right.
Him talking at the beginning, cool. But then the match just rolled on like Lashley had no point in being in this match.
Yeah, no, dude. I thought it's funny you say that. I thought
spear through the glass. I mean, that was probably the reason for his involvement.
To do a spear through the glass.
I could have saw Braun Breaker do that same thing. And
do it 10 times better. Right.
And it would have been as effective.
Yeah. I thought Bronson Reed was going to be a part of this match because he's also
Australia. Yeah, I did too. I was expecting that.
So, from what I am hearing from this morning, I think he put it out. He was supposed to be there. And I think he was actually supposed to fight Seth for the title.
That's what I saw too. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Seth.
But his wife, I think, is about to have a baby. I think within the next day or so.
I did hear that.
So he couldn't actually be there for it. He said otherwise he would have been there.
Okay. I did hear that. Okay, yeah, because that's interesting. Yeah.
But that would have been a time for Braun Breaker to almost do what he did in the Iron Survivor Challenge a couple months ago. Where let him come in, knock a couple people off. You could even possibly give him. Braun's such a great guy. You could put him in the title picture with Logan at Mania, and it would have been okay and believable.
Yeah.
Because of just how high up he is. But he's got tag team titles from NXT kind of holding him back at the moment. That you kind of it's kind of hard to just say, hey, here's another title for you too.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that the match was okay. Once again, the women, and this is once again, I told you, the women are killing it when it comes to these specialty matches, whether it's War Games, whether it's
the Rumble,
whether it's this. I mean, the women are like, the men got to step it up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man, for sure.
This is another point where Drew, we knew he was winning already, just like with Becky, but those women took that time to develop something great. And Logan and KO did develop something great in there, but it just seemed like everybody else was just kind of there to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like placeholders. It was like, well, we know Drew's winning, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody like Tiffany Stratton, who said, "Hey, I may not be winning this, but I'm going to make sure you remember who the hell I am."
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's the distinction between the two. I'm gonna give it a bad, only because I don't think if you take Logan Paul out, which I've seen he wasn't winning in KO, you don't have a great chamber match, a memorable one at that.
Yeah, no.
You're right.
No, you definitely got a point there. No doubt for sure. I mean, yeah, you take away Logan Paul, you take away Kevin Owens. You take the spear away from Bobby Lashley. Do you truly remember? Are you going to really remember this match or remember anything about this match?
The only thing I'll remember is RKO.
AJ Styles. I remember AJ Styles attacking LA Knight. That's honestly like the big main positive as well, which is why.
That only matters depending on what they do with this rivalry afterwards.
Right.
Because if they end up just having a random match on SmackDown and not something all the way into Mania, then it's
because that's something they could do is just throw it on the SmackDown again because they've already fought on SmackDown, so they could just rush it back into freaking into SmackDown again. But at least for what it was, and at least what we hope is going to turn out, which is a match at Mania. I thought it was tremendous, at least for that spot with AJ Styles and LA Knight. I really did like that. At least it solidified more of Styles being the heel. And I get why he's kind of been a tweener because he was doing that whole shtick with Knight and Orton and Roman because, the whole story was about everybody had an issue with Roman for the title because the bloodline and all of them kind of took out. They all have a similar issue with the bloodline. So I get it to a degree, but it was just weird how in the middle of all that, Styles did the turn on LA Knight. And all of a sudden, like, they're just trying to, like, be best buddies and trying to, like, freaking try to coexist in tag matches, whatever the fuck, right? It was just weird. But now, and again, it depends on what they do moving forward, because I definitely agree with you with that, Jalen, because they could just fuck this up and they can just rush this to a SmackDown or just put no care and effort into it. But how it was done, as well as it made sense of the chamber pod being open, so it would be an opportunity if Styles were there to capitalize, get into the chamber, and beat the holy living hell out of freaking LA Knight. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And yeah, no doubt if you definitely take away Kevin Owens and Logan Paul, as well as, the RKO, which was the freaking highlight of probably in the entire match was Randy RKOing Logan out of coming into frame, which I thought was a really cool spot. So I'll kind of just jump straight into my tally here, man. So I was definitely on the fence because, Brian, I agree with you. I think the women still blows. Their chamber match blows freaking the men's out of the water. Yeah. But because the right person won this match, and I'm going to get more into that in just a second, because the right person match, there were some memorable moments in this match. Like you said, Jalen, thanks to KO, thanks to Logan Paul, as well. I've spoken about Styles and LA Knight. I'm going to put this into the good. I think this is at least, there were more positives that outweighed the negatives in this match. And again, Drew McIntyre, which I think at this point we all knew, I mean, if Drew McIntyre didn't win this freaking match, then I'm like, what the hell did we just build all this shit for with Drew? So, but here's the thing I will say about Drew, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. It's just, I would even be more excited about Seth and Drew of two things. One, of course, we talked about with Seth and how he's legit made it clear that he doesn't give a shit about his own championship. He just cares more about the bloodline. But second of all, I've already seen this match twice in the last 4 months. I saw it at freaking Crown Jewel, and I just saw it at day one on a Monday Night Raw. So the fact that we're getting a part 3 between these two at WrestleMania, a match that we've already seen twice already, that's what I don't get. And I wish there could have been even more excitement if this could have been just, I don't know, let alone maybe just a rematch, like their second match. I would have maybe taken that. Or hell, dare I say, if this was the first time they've encountered in quite some time, because they've encountered in matches in the past. But man, like, you already rushed this to Crown Jewel. You rushed it at freaking day one. And now you're going to do it again. And I get it. The original plan was to do Punk and Rollins. I get it. But if Drew at some point, if you were going to push Drew up until this point with Rollins, then why not save that, man? Like, why just have Drew be the guy for Seth to get to Punk? It was just so freaking odd to me. But that alone, again, is just a different subject. But Drew had to freaking win this match. I mean, he beat Cody Rhodes, for fuck's sake. So I don't know how you can have this dude, after beating Cody, freaking lose this chamber match. And he's probably going to win the world title against Seth, because again, Seth is probably going to take some time off after Mania, and you can use Drew to keep telling a story with Punk. Maybe keep selling t-shirts, having new merchandise and shit, or doing whatever to
Did you see what the Cody picture he had where he painted the Stardust?
Yes. That was good. No, Drew's been good, man. I like this Drew. I like this Drew McIntyre a lot. He's he just tells you how he feels. He's a very honest person, but he's also very delusional at the same time. So I like it, man. I just wish they could have saved Seth and Drew, man. If you knew you were going to build Drew to this caliber, and it was a slow burn, maybe too slow. After when he returned, he was just a face, and he fought Gunther, and he was in a tag team with Riddle. Like, I was like, what the hell are we doing with this guy? But now finally he's at where he's at. And I just wish they would have saved this match, man. I wish they would have saved it for this moment, instead of Drew being like that stepping stone. Oh, we're going to use freaking Seth to beat Drew for him to get to Punk to have this big match, So that's the one thing it just doesn't sit well with me in regards to it. But hey, doesn't take away from the match. Again, hopefully Styles and LA Knight, they continue that whole spiel. Again, I love the fact that LA Knight's is not going after a mid-card title. Thank freaking God. Keep him away from the mid-card. He doesn't need it. I would have been fine LA Knight holding on to a mid-card title if he didn't face Roman the first time. Because it would just be weird to go to the top of the mountain, just say, okay, here, your consolation prize is to go straight back down to the mid card. And I'm like, seriously, that's what we're doing for him. You might as well just put him in something with LA Knight that could be special, that could be captivating to fans, and just go with that. You have plenty of time to have, or maybe not time, but you have opportunities to have LA Knight hold on to a title, just not a mid card freaking title, man. You could have done that before the Roman match. Now it's just not needed for him anymore, especially in that spot. But yeah, man. So that's my tallies in regards to it. So right now I got 3 in the good. I got 1 in the ugly. So that's 2 bads. Brian, I believe you have 3 or 4 in the good.
4 in the good, 1 in the ugly.
Yep. And 1 in the ugly. So that's 2 bads. And Jalen, I'm pretty sure now you're at 2 in the good, 1 in the bad, and 1 in the ugly. So he's got it. So I got more goods than he does right now. But who knows? That could possibly change, as now we get to the main event. We get to the main event of this match, which was the women. You have Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the WWE Women's World title. So Rhea got a tremendous ovation from Australia, which was great. It was great to see. Her family was at ringside. They were clapping and cheering for her. She had a decent overall reaction for what it was. She was overcome with a little bit of emotion. So that in itself was a decent moment. So again, kudos to her. I'm sure that means a lot to her to not only wrestle once again in Australia, but to come back as legit the top female wrestler, not just in WWE, but just in the world. In the world right now. Yep. So I'm sure that means a lot to her, and good for her to that regard. But now this matchup, right now this match. So Nia Jax pretty much took control of this entire match. I guess Rhea was playing, because she's in Australia, she was playing like the underdog, like trying to overcome like the mountain that is freaking Nia Jax. I'll get to that in just a second. So she starts mocking Rhea's family at ringside. Freaking Nia Jax, she's like shoving freaking her legit guys, her ass in Rhea's freaking face while their family is watching at ringside. This was probably the highlight of the entire match. The crowd starts chanting "My hole." They start chanting "My hole." I don't know if you fellas remember when she did a leg drop and she hit the apron hard. Freaking, I think she hit Becky or somebody with it. She screams, "My hole!" So the fucking crowd was chanting it. Oh, it was actually funny. I laughed out loud when I heard it. It was funny. So Nia Jax hits a Samoan drop from the top rope. She didn't even really get all air into it. She kind of just fell straight down. Usually they try to get like an extra little bit of air, not too much air from the second row, but just a little bit of air. Nia Jax, like she just fell straight down. And then freaking, what else happens next? So Rhea then starts to get some offense going. She's like screaming. She's trying to pump up the crowd. She starts to do the freaking Eddie Guerrero shit. I'm like, okay, listen here, man. I get it. Like you're freaking, you're quote unquote, dirty Dom's freaking girlfriend. But like what? I see a bunch of random motherfuckers doing the Eddie Guerrero shit. I'm like, all right, let's calm that down, man. Like, listen, I see too many people doing that. That was kind of a turnoff. I get it. Like for however you take it, it was cool, but it was just like Rhea doing it. It's just like, that makes sense for like a freaking, maybe like a Santos Escobar or a Rey Mysterio or a freaking, I don't know, maybe a Dragon Lee, but like Rhea Ripley, like it's just, come on, man. I don't know.
Right.
But again, and I'm sure like a lot of this stuff they do on the spot, I'm sure. So I'm sure it was her call maybe to do the spot. I just think it's freaking weird, honestly, to do. Everybody does the Eddie Guerrero salute. Listen, I love that they're paying tribute to Eddie. That's not what I'm not throwing shade of. It's just it's just like you see a lot of wrestlers.
Not everybody
Eddie
needs
Guerrero
to do it.
shit. Not
right.
everybody needs to fucking do it. Like you can pay your respects to Eddie in different ways, but then there's certain people that make sense to do the tribute that way. Rhea, it's just it's very weird. It's really it doesn't fit, if that makes sense. But Nia Jax sends Rhea Ripley through the announce table. Nia Jax hits the Annihilator splash, the Yokozuna splash from the second rope. Rhea Ripley kicks out. Rhea Ripley suplexes Nia Jax off the top rope. Rhea almost pretty much hurt her freaking neck because you can tell like when they were on the top rope, they were very like timid whether to freaking go for. They were like, frick it, let's just go for it. So I was like grinding my teeth as they did it, but they hit it. They hit it well. So then freaking after the suplex, Rhea hits the Riptide. She hits it. And after one Riptide, Rhea Ripley wins the match. Rhea Ripley retains her title. She celebrates with her Australian folk. And that's it. We just go off the air. No Liv Morgan. No Becky Lynch. No Jade Cargill. Nothing. Just Rhea Ripley celebrating with her folk. And again, good little solid visual, but man, was I expecting a whole lot more than that. I'm going to save more of my thoughts. Jalen, I'll start with you, man. Your thoughts on this main event between Rhea and Nia Jax.
I was very taken aback by Nia because I know a lot of us have been very critical of her. And I think she did show that this is what she should have been before. So I think that that's a good thing for her. But I was a little disappointed. And this is probably just me being nitpicking. I thought Rhea's attire would be a little bit more based on her being home, and that they may give her like a little more grand of an entrance, being the main event in Australia.
Yeah.
Because when they went to Crown Jewel, they gave her a bigger entrance in Crown Jewel than they did.
And they did with her, right? Right. Yeah.
So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
The match overall was good. It was good enough to be a main event. I think this match showed that they can be they could possibly be a main event, but I do think that once again, Bayley and Io are going to be your night one main event. They have to. I don't know where Nia goes from here. Like I said, she almost has to go and fight Jade. And I'm with you about Jade going to Raw because SmackDown is kind of too top heavy right now.
Yeah,
it's kind of no point in her.
and
being
that's probably who Nia will feud with. Probably, I've said it for weeks, is with Jade. I think it just makes sense that that's where Nia goes because again, Jade eliminated her from the Rumble, and for Jade were to go to Raw, it just makes because who else are you going to put with Nia? I mean, you're going to throw her with what? You're going to throw her in with freaking I don't know a Liv Morgan,
Alba Fire.
An Alba Fire, Zoe Starks. Like, who the fuck are you going to throw her in there?
She'll be in a tag team by the end of the
month. She'll be back in a tag team with Shayna Baszler right now. Shayna Baszler's gonna freaking put aside freaking Zoe Starks to the curb, and she's gonna freaking tag team with freaking Shayna Baszler. Yeah, continue.
So that's probably the only thing I think about this. I am a little afraid of the Becky and Rhea matchup because it looks great on it's almost like a Super Bowl. Like some of the Super Bowls look great on paper. But then when the game actually starts, when they become very one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Becky is believable to me to actually put up a fight against Rhea. Their styles are very different.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I absolutely hate that stupid ass manhandle slam. I hate that with a passion because it's so ugly, and every time she does it, it looks different and awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is one of the things where Rhea is gonna come out looking like a megastar either way, but I feel like they didn't do her enough justice after this match. Like you said, the celebration at the end just kind of seemed awkward. I would have much rather have had her family could have came over the barricade and celebrated with her, and then that would have maybe established her, like you said, more as a baby face.
Yeah.
Her and Nia going against each other was great. That would have been a match I could have seen at Mania as opposed to in Australia. Yeah, because I feel like it was hard. It was hard hitting. That way you could have probably gave them maybe another 5 or 10 minutes to just put some more offense out there. I think they were maybe 1 or 2 big spots away. I think having Rhea maybe kick out of one riptide.
Yeah, right.
Would have helped. That would have been where I would have liked to see Rhea maybe try the whole super riptide or something like that off of the top rope, just to kind of give it something special.
That's what I thought they were going to do at first. Like, that's the way to take out Nia Jax is from the top rope or maybe like a second riptide or something. But yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because if you look at that match, Rhea really didn't pick Nia up the entire time.
No. Dude, she got her ass whooped majority of the matchup. I mean, that's what I freaking saw, which was, I'll get to that. I'll get to my thoughts about that.
And now it does kind of fit how things have been going because, like I said, I loved watching Nia. I think it was 2 Monday nights ago where she just went and beat up everybody in the chamber match. It was just like, okay, y'all are wasting my time because y'all talking about Rhea, but what about me? And I love that for her. So it made Nia look how she needed to look. This match didn't hurt her in any way.
Oh, no.
Like, people aren't going to remember, man, she got embarrassed in that match. They're going to say they came out
dominated
saying, man, she dominated and looked way better than what she used to be. And this is what we wanted from her. Rhea has to now get on that mic on Monday and establish something very, very great for herself. Whatever promo she's going to put out on Monday is going to determine how this feud goes. Because that'll probably be the first time her and Becky face off, officially as opponents. And that's going to be where where this rivalry is going to go. I don't need to see Rhea anything with the Judgment Day on Monday. Keep her away from them altogether tomorrow night. To hell with all the other stuff. Rhea needs to focus on Becky in that title and make that title high stakes. Because obviously Seth still is a couple of days from competing, which I don't know why he would. What that matters right now. But with him being days away from competing, Gunther kind of doesn't have an opponent right now. Becky and Rhea are your staples. They're going to be what carries your show for the next couple weeks. So you need to make them believable that they can actually be that main event that people believe they can be.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, man, your thoughts and your tally, man.
Overall, man, I like the match. I think for Rhea, other than when she won the title, this has been her best matchup and best match, title defense up to this point. I do agree with you at like towards the end, like I guess I wish it would have taken a little bit more for Rhea to put away Nia, because that just seemed, it was a superplex, one riptide, boom, we're out of here. I think it could have been done a little bit more to make it, a little bit more, a struggle for Rhea, or even to make Nia look good as like, okay, you're just taking me out with one. Like, okay, well, I'm done now. I'm not getting another shot. So that's my only little drawback. But I mean, Nia pulled out, or not Nia, Rhea pulled out some, moves that you don't normally see from her, which I thought was cool. So yeah, overall, I liked the match. You knew Rhea was going to win, especially in her hometown. So yeah, we'll see, how they tell the story with Becky and Rhea, going forward. And to your point, Jalen, and man, I'm a big fan of Nia. Like, what going forward for her? Yeah, I think Jade would be a good matchup. But I think even in that case, I think you'd have to put Jade over there, and so that then, Nia's coming off 2 big losses, and then what's she gonna, just she's gonna be that one that takes the L again. So it's in a tough spot, because I mean, as much as I want to see that match, I think the better call would be for Jade to go over there. So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out, but overall, good match. I love the moment for Rhea. That's awesome for her coming back. As James, you and I, we've interviewed a couple wrestlers from Riot City, and now Rhea returns there as the biggest female wrestler in the world. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So all in all, I'm giving this a good, man. Yeah, I didn't take too much issue with it, other than maybe Rhea could have had a little more offense at the end there.
Yeah.
Come on, give it to me, James. It
looks like I'm going to have to be the odd one out here, fellas, but it's okay, because it is what it is. But listen, I'm fine with these two main eventing the show. I actually did not have a problem with it. Again, this show was started at 5:00 in the morning for most of us. And again, it's Rhea's homeland. Nia Jax is also technically from there. She is also from Australia. I think she's born there. So yeah. I get it. I get why this was the main event. Rhea got a nice little reception. And yes, Nia did look good, and it did do wonders for her. And she did do well to an extent. I agree with everything, or majority of everything that you guys just said. But guys, here's why I can't give this a good. I can't give this a good, because I'll tell you why. I don't understand the majority of this match. Yeah, Rhea Ripley, she hit the reverse suplex, or no, she hit the suplex off the top rope. Yeah. She did the frickin' frog, and then she hit the riptide. Like, again, I would have the finish was very simplistic. Majority of the match, you just have Rhea getting her ass whooped. Like, what I thought this match was going to be, and which I honestly have preferred it would be, have this more of like a back and forth slugfest. But this was more of just a Nia Jax beatdown. And I'm like,
I expected it more to be that way.
You're portraying Rhea Ripley as this underdog, and I get it why, because she's from there. The crowd is trying to get behind her because she's from there. I get all of that. But for an entire year, you've booked her as this monster, like the legit badass women's champion of this women's division. And she's portrayed as this fucking underdog trying to overcome, that was a really weird fucking concept to me, as well as the match was, I mean, it was okay. There was nothing really that memorable or special about it. The crowd was definitely not into it. Outside of the freaking entrances, the crowd really didn't gather up any time, at least towards the end by the freaking suplex. and the Riptide. I mean, I watched the crowd. Nobody was hardly really that into it.
I was taken aback
as well as the ending of the match. Rhea wins the match and we just go off the air. You can't tell me that there had to be something else. Like, you couldn't think of anything else to go off the air with than just Rhea Ripley. And I get it, man. She deserves that moment. She's earned that moment to celebrate with her fans and everything. I'm not even discussing or debating that or going against that. But there had to be something else than just Rhea simplistically pinning Nia Jax with a Riptide and we go off the air. That I don't like at all. Nothing about Becky Lynch, nothing about Liv Morgan, nothing about anything. That's what I don't like about this at all. I'm sorry. That's just not how you end a premium live event.
Like, I hear what you're saying, and that's why they ended it that way, which is why I'm fine with it, because it was in her hometown, and that's so. I think if like Becky or anybody had come out there, that's just taking the moment. Taken away from the moment for her.
And again, I mean, if I don't know if Becky is going to be a heel. I mean, she's probably still going to be a baby face.
I think double turn at Mania, man.
Or a double turn. Yeah. Let's see if they do a double turn. Then, like, if you're going to have Rhea continue to portray herself as the face and maybe Becky as the heel, I don't see why it would take away headlines for Rhea if you were to have Becky do something to end the night off, because to, like, I don't know, involves something. I don't think that's going to take any headlines away
I
from
think
Rhea.
that if you did that now, then you're turning Becky heel now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. They're like the turn isn't going to happen till Mania. Like, there might be some little things leading up to it, but if you had Becky come out there now in Australia as she's celebrating, then you're turning Becky heel right now, and Rhea's going to be the face right now.
No, good point. No, and it's not. And just regardless, I just was expecting more to end the night off. If that makes sense to y'all. Again, the match wasn't even like bad to a degree. It just wasn't that. There was really nothing truly special that I saw. I mean, again, because the crowd was just not into majority of this match. And again, good for Rhea, or good for Nia. She looked good for what it was. I just don't get how you're portraying Rhea in this match as this underdog babyface getting her ass whooped, when for the majority of the year, like, why not have these two women just blow for blow, like, go after one another?
Yeah.
Instead of making this like majority type of beatdown or majority type of freaking, just Nia Jax just taking control of the entire match. That's what I just don't get. On top of the fact that you just did, to end the pay-per-view off, you just did nothing outside of it. I don't know. It's just weird, man. I don't know.
I definitely thought it would be more 50-50, the match.
That's what I mean. Like, I wanted it to be more 50-50. Like, make me believe that these two women are legit the top female powerhouses of your division. But you just had Rhea get her ass kicked. She did a freaking suplex, which was okay, and then she hit a freaking Riptide, and that was it.
Yeah.
The majority of the match, Nia just whooped her ass. I'm just like, come on, man. And I get it. Listen, you're portraying more of Rhea to be the baby face. So I understand that, like, if you're going to portray her more as the face, she can't do like the majority of like, baby face, like tactics to where she's, I get it, but still you want to make it like somewhat believable for Rhea that she's just this legit badass woman, instead of just getting her ass kicked majority of the match. So that was just very odd. So I hate that I have to do this, and I'm going to give you my tallies. I'll give you my first tally because I have two tallies for this. The first tally is going into the bad, which is the match itself. Again, there was nothing truly special about the match. Again, the crowd was really not that hype into it at all. And again, I just don't believe the match and how it was portrayed, how you just have Nia just whooping Rhea's ass for 14 plus minutes. That I'm just not on board with. As well as my second tally for this pay-per-view. And I don't care. I'm going to be the asshole because I don't mind being an asshole. That's going to get another.
Wow.
Yeah, listen, bro. Listen. Sorry, not sorry that I just expect more for a show to go off the air. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, again, this is not because we're in WrestleMania season. Listen, I get it. Rhea is in Australia. She's portrayed as the face. It's a big moment for her. I highly doubt if you were to end the story with a cliffhanger or some type of shtick to create major headlines that involves Rhea, I highly doubt it's going to take any steam away from what Rhea Ripley had in this match in Australia. Like, I highly doubt that if you were to involve Becky or whoever it was. But I just was expecting something else than just Nia winning simplistically, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
I do think they should have stole they kind of should have stole what they did at Mania and maybe have had like Becky sitting in like a press box, and after Rhea wins the match, you just
right,
have
something, man. It was just very it was underwhelming. Let's just say that. It was very just underwhelming, and I was just expecting more. Just something more. If you're going to put these women in the main event, you got to have something for fans to talk about. Not just Rhea getting her moment with fans. That's one thing. But what else are you going to involve Rhea with that you have to talk about going into Monday Night Raw this coming Monday? That's what I'm looking for. I get it. It's a great moment for her that she's in front of Australia. She won the title against Nia, and Nia looked good in the process. I'm not complaining about any of that. But what about Monday Night Raw with Rhea Ripley? That is the headlines that you created for Rhea Ripley in this match to say, okay, like what are Becky and Rhea going to do? Unless like you're saying to yourself, maybe there's more unpredictability because they didn't do a face-off or because they didn't do anything to that degree. I don't know. I was just expecting something after this match. Something. And got none of it. So that's it, man. So those are my tallies, fellas. I'll start off with you, Jalen, and then you, Brian. Your final thoughts about this pay-per-view and your final tallies.
I will say this just to finish off with the Rhea and Becky situation. They have to either open the show Monday or close it.
Yeah.
In some way or another, they have to either open it or close it. I do agree, like I said, they didn't give her a big enough celebration, and I don't like that. Because in a way, Grayson Waller got more of a celebration doing the shoey with the fighter as opposed to
the tag match with frickin' Bate and Pete Dunne got more of a frickin' response from the crowd than this fucking main event.
That's what I was wondering if it's just like they were just burnt out by the end.
Maybe
like,
it was fatigue. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think adding that women's tag title match on the pre-show hurt because nobody really cared about that.
Yeah.
But I get it. You have to put Indy Hartwell on the show because she's from Australia too. But you could have built a story around that easily, but I guess they just chose not to. But like I said, everybody that was from Australia kind of got their due except for Rhea. I feel like there was no like true celebration of just truly how big it was that Rhea was main eventing in her hometown at Elimination Chamber, the pay-per-view right before Mania. Like it wasn't a big celebration of this is a moment. It just kind of felt like another main event.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I kind of got that same feeling too, where especially when Rhea came out there, like I was anticipating the roof to blow off the place, man. Like, I thought that was, but yeah, like that's, and then, throughout the match, I was just kind of chalking it up to like, yeah, the crowd's burnt out because I definitely thought the crowd was going to have more response for Rhea. And I don't think, I just think they were burnt out because I don't think they would have not responded to her for her. I don't know. I guess they were dead at the end.
I agree. I do think they were tired. Because we've seen it before. Like that's why they stopped making Mania 8 hours on one day.
Right.
and you know, no Mania should be ending at 2 a.m. almost.
Yeah.
So I do think they were a little bit tired, but this is also why that Grayson Waller segment was not that important, and why the men's chamber probably should have switched the order of everything, because you can't put two segments that I think we all pretty much ranked as solid at best in front of it, and one of them we ranked terrible, and then say, okay, well, here's your main event with your with Australia with your biggest superstar.
Yeah.
Those things should have never been simultaneous with each other. So I'm hoping that this doesn't kill people's hype for what Rhea's about to do with Becky. But like I said, they are going to be fighting a little bit of an uphill battle because her build up with Charlotte last year was not great to me.
No.
Yeah, no.
So
And I'll say the match, the match is the only thing that's memorable from WrestleMania last year, because the build was that's why it didn't get the freaking main event, and why Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and the Usos got the main event, because the Bloodline story was just the hottest thing, and that was the right decision, by the way, to do. So, but yeah, it's just, and listen, man, look, fellas, I as well as people listening, I hate to do this. Right, you guys see this board. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, like it. If you're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you're shit out of luck because you can't see nothing. But it's 5 in the bad and 3 in the good. I don't want to have to do that, man. But it's just like especially because I'm also thinking in the mind, fellas, of like somebody, because I didn't watch this at 5 o'clock in the morning. I could have watched this at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I wasn't able to. I watched this, which I'm sure was majority of people, maybe later on in the afternoon or later on Saturday night. And I watched this match, and I'm thinking like, man, I stayed up for almost 3+ freaking hours from 5 o'clock in the morning on for the show to just go off just like that. I mean, that's just something I could just see at a house show, or just something I could just see at a freaking Monday Night Raw. It's just Rhea Ripley celebrating with fans, and Michael Cole's like, all right, good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Right. Like, what else are you bringing to the table? Because again, I highly doubt, man, that if you were to involve Becky or some other layer, it would have took away Rhea Ripley or any other headlines that she created. I highly doubt that. It also would have maybe added a layer or substance to it, because now you have a reason to watch Monday Night Raw, to watch SmackDown, to get further in depth of what Becky and Rhea are going to bring into the table, or whatever piece that you want to add into this shit. Something other than just Rhea just hitting a riptide to Nia Jax once, which also was very odd, because I agree with both of you. I thought Nia Jax, for what she did majority of this match, and again, I'm not the biggest fan of Nia Jax, but I'll admit, she looked pretty decent and she did her thing. But I do find it weird how all of that, one riptide, and she's done. Now I get it. Like with finishers, you got to make them feel like finishers. But I would have had freaking, and we said it, Jalen earlier, like have Rhea do that finisher off the top rope, maybe hit it twice, something, man, like a more of a badass type of finish to be like, okay, like that type of finish deserves to just go straight off the air. But the fact that everything was just so simplistic and nothing else happened afterwards, that's why I can't give this into the good. It's just like, okay, I waited, again, just from a different perspective, who watched this at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, I waited 4+ hours since 5 o'clock in the morning for this show to just end like that. No, absolutely not.
But another thing that hurt this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
People are still forgetting that, and it's been bothering the hell out of me every Raw I see Becky do a promo. Are we still forgetting that Nia beat Becky clean a month ago?
Yeah.
I
know. I had mentioned
I've said that too, bro.
Like,
yeah.
That's why, like, originally I thought this match, the Nia, Rhea could have been a Mania, like, because she had already taken out Becky. And,
listen, and at that point, if you want to continue to portray Rhea as the face, by the time she gets into Mania as more as a polarizing babyface against Nia, then okay, now we have a discussion. Brian, we've spoken about how we could have added more layers with Rhea and Nia. Like, all you did freaking this past Monday was just like, oh, hey, Rhea, I'm 3 times the size of you. And then freaking Rhea's just like, okay, I'll see you in Perth because it's my homeland and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, and then of course, then there's Becky, to where yeah, it's very weird how you have her lose to Nia, but yet Nia's the one getting the match at Chamber, and now Becky's the one getting the match in Mania because she's in the. Yeah, it's interesting.
And you could even argue that Nia winning the Chamber and being that monster would have made more sense than Becky beating Liv after Liv rolled up Bianca Belair.
Mm-hmm. No,
it would have made Nia a more polarizing figure going into Mania as opposed to what it did for Becky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. There's at least like three women, other females that I would have put ahead of Becky, to face Rhea at Mania. But this is the way we're going. So
this is the way.
Mommy versus the man. I mean, that's what the building. That's what the story is going to be. Yeah.
Mommy versus the man. And yeah, Jalen, you're right. As we finish this up here, you're right. They gotta have something big, because if you didn't finish the night off with something, a cliffhanger or nothing, then you got to have something special for Raw whenever that time is, because
it's got to be on Raw. It has to.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Raw, because Rhea's on Raw, Nia Jax is on Raw, and freaking Becky's on Raw. So yeah, it's gonna be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. But you gotta have something big planned, man, because I'm telling you right now, because if they don't have something that's gonna really take headlines from Monday Night Raw with those two ladies, then I'm just like, okay, that kind of just proves my point in full. It's just like right from the jump, you do nothing right from the jump to kickstart Beck. Because again, fellas, we only got a month left. We don't have a whole lot of time here. So that's what I mean. It's just like we have very minimal amount of time here. Why not at Elimination Chamber just start? Again, I'm not saying empty the kitchen sink, but something to get this going, because we only have like a month left here. That's what I'm talking about. It's just, so they got to do something between those two ladies. Does Liv Morgan get involved into this? Because I've been hearing that around the campfire too. Who the hell knows? But listen, man, this pay-per-view had its good moments. And as you saw from my board, it's had its bad and its ugly moments. So, but fellas, I'll let y'all reveal y'all tallies before we end things, man. Brian, what are your final tallies, my man?
Well, I had one ugly, but ultimately 5 good and so 2 bad.
There you go.
And really the highlight for me, man, that woman's chamber match, man.
Very good.
Dude, just killed it. I mean, that put it over the top for me.
Absolutely, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Jalen, I believe you had, what were your tallies, Jalen? I totally forgot what your tallies were.
3 good, a bad, and an ugly.
All right, fellas. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jalen, I want to thank you, my man, for being a part of this review, the very first guest that we've had a part of the good and bad and the ugly tradition since we've started this podcast. So, Jalen, once again, man, I appreciate you being a part of the show. It's always a pleasure to have you, my man. And, of course, for everybody that wants to check his stuff out, I'll put links in the description, his Twitter, his TikTok, Instagram, for you guys to go check him out. Especially on TikTok, as that's where he majority covers his professional wrestling, all of his takes and all that stuff. So make sure you guys go check him out, go check his stuff. And like I said, I'll put everything in the description below. Again, Jalen, thank you, my man. It's always a pleasure. And just thank you for always supporting our community, supporting our platform. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to have you back onto the show, my man. As always, of course, to everybody watching, you guys see that banner down below. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. Of course, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, coming up, we got WrestleMania season now, like I said, a month away. So that means we got another big roundtable coming up. That is March 30th. You see that banner down below, March 30th. On Saturday is when we will be doing that roundtable, that WrestleMania roundtable, with a bunch of special guests for that show. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all of that. And of course, we are back next week to cover Monday Night Raw, the post Elimination Chamber show for Monday Night Raw. And of course, we got AEW Revolution coming up, I believe, next week. Next week is AEW Revolution. So we will find some time to cover AEW Revolution. I know freaking Jalen, I was able to jump onto your TikTok live the other day and watch Rampage. It's probably the first freaking Rampage I was tuning in. That's probably the only time I'll tune into Rampage, if somebody like you, Jalen, or somebody jumps on a live, and I'll watch it with you. But the Bucks were doing good stuff. at least for that show. I'm sure majority of that review will be about the Bucks as well as Sting and Darby. But make sure you guys stay tuned for that of when me and Brian will be talking about AW Revolution. And as always, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you guys for following. Thank you guys for tuning in. And stay tuned for more content, man. Brian, Jalen, I'll start with you, Brian. Your final thoughts before we end the show.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought, it was a good pay-per-view. Definitely. I mean, I'm excited about some things heading into Mania. Other things, still questions up in the air, man. But all in all, like I said a few weeks ago, man, I think there's a lot of positive things going on
for sure
in WWE right now that is better long term, man. So just looking forward to that. And Jalen, thanks again for coming on, man. Shout out to you. And, we'll definitely have you back on, man.
Of course.
Jalen, final thoughts, man, before we end things, man.
I think this is a great position. I say I'm a big women's wrestling fan. So I think right now, the women
killing
everything. Their stuff is all established for Mania pretty much. You might sprinkle in a couple more matches. But right now, they're developing storylines. The men's matches, you're just kind of trying to figure out what the hell is going
on. Right. So, figuring out who even is the main event. Are we doing a tag? Are we singles?
That's
what are we doing?
Right. Exactly.
So right now it's just I love the direction of the women. I do like where I think they're kind of hinting at going for most of the men's matches. Like I said, only time will tell. We got to be patient. We got to not get on the internet and cry about it every 5 minutes. Something happens.
Right.
Twitter is a dark place when anybody shows up that they don't like. So,
oh my god.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, I can't wait for Mania. Revolution, I'm going to try to catch it. I'm actually going to try to go to the Dynamite after Revolution because it'll be here in Georgia.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
Hopefully I'll catch that, and hopefully we'll see something going on there. From that.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I love doing the show with you guys.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. You're welcome back on this platform anytime. Again, make sure you guys go check him out. Check out Jalen Johnson. All of his stuff is in the description down below. And thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. And that is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. Alongside Jalen Johnson, my name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Toodles!
So what if you can see the darkest side of me? No one would ever change the